This is the HM Elite Pre-Runner. But did you guys know they also make an affordable long travel kit that's priced better than most mid-travel kits out there? We did a video on this truck about a year ago, and it's by far the most popular video on the channel. And why not? This truck is amazing. Now, this is a brand new build. This is technically number 9 of 10 Elite Pre-Runners that have come out of HM shop. And this is only number 3 of the latest generation of the Elites. But I think a lot of you guys have the misconception that HM only builds pre-runners. They also make mid-travel and long travel kits that are more affordable than any other kit out there. And in this video, we're gonna cover them and show you guys what I consider to be the best kits for the F-150 and the Raptors on the market today. HM doesn't just build Elite Pre-Runners. This right here is actually a long travel build currently getting done. HM classifies it as the Recon because of its killer back end that we're gonna show you guys here in a bit. But HM also does mid-travel and long travel kits, and their pricing is very similar, if not better than most mid-travel kits on the market today. So when you guys are looking at getting a kit for your Raptors and F-150s, make sure you guys give this video a good look. Make sure you guys go to the HM website and see what they have to offer, because it's gonna surprise you guys how affordable these kits are. And in my opinion, they are by far the best kits on the market for an F-150 or a Raptor. This right here is HM's long travel kit. It's actually called a race kit just based on the original design. And HM actually has a couple of these kits. But what makes this one unique, it's the same cost as your typical mid-travel kit that's currently on the market. To give us an overview of this kit, we're gonna have Kevin come in here. How do I say your last name, dude? I've never been able to say your last name right.
M-A-H-A-N.
Mayhem. So Kevin is the owner and builder here for HM, right? You've been doing this for a long time.
28 years.
You know, you guys met Kevin last year when we did his Elite Pre-Runner, but we really wanted to show you guys something. There's been a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people think you only build pre-runner.
We do everything, really. I mean, we do pre-runners, but we also do the long travel kits. The long travel kits we've had for all the way back from the original, days of the 9703 trucks when they first came out.
And what I think is unique about the HM kits, when I was looking for a kit myself, I always found that the kits were kind of lacking in the reinforcement that I wanted, right? And it was reinforcement that I wanted based on damage that I suffered on the trails. And when I talked to some of the shops, some of them did some of the reinforcement, others did not. Your kit was the first that had all the reinforcement that I wanted standard. And it really set your kit apart to me because of all that extra reinforcement you did up front, right? And the mantra that I've always heard you say is, if you're gonna upgrade the suspension and do more with the truck, you really need to reinforce the frame along with it, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because they're not designed for it. I mean, originally Ford had parameters that they had their engineers build for.
Exactly.
And then after that, they're not concerned about it. So, I mean, if you're gonna go and put more leverage and more load into the actual application that you're gonna be putting it onto, then you need to strengthen it. I've always came from a race shop. I mean, that's what we started as a race shop. So we've always been on the high-end performance side of it, not just the bolt-in stuff. I mean, that kind of came later with the Raptor.
And that's one thing that sticks out to me in the designs too. This is race-derived kits.
It's been raced on.
And that's the difference, right? Because you see a lot of the other kits out there, no offense to the other companies, they do work, but they're not race-proven kits, right? They're just kits out there for you and me. Yeah. This is race-proven tech, so it's above and beyond stronger than anything else on the market. Now, we're gonna do a quick deep dive on this truck to show you guys exactly what this kit is. We're gonna go over the front and the back because the back is also pretty unique. Typically, I don't go over the backs because everybody's rear end is the same. Yeah. But there's a couple things that you do that is a little bit different that I think it's worth highlighting. You basically have 3 levels of trucks that you build. Your Elites are at the top.
Right.
What would this be considered?
This is the urban assault vehicle is what we're calling it. UAV.
And then you have another one too that you guys are developing now,
and
right?
We're doing the Recon.
And we're gonna give you guys a preview of that later because I think it's cool to show you guys what else HM is working on. It's not just pre-runners, he's also doing these cool race kits, he's doing bolt kits, and he's doing something new that's called a Recon that is gonna blow you guys away. So we're first gonna start off with the front kit because this thing is beyond impressive. Why don't you give us a quick overview, Kevin, on what we're looking at here in your front kit?
So this is our 95 race kit. We have these in different variants and widths, I guess, so to speak. It's all the same kit. It just really gets transformed by the backside where the pivots are. We just shorten that up an inch or two. So we have it in a 94 version, we have it in a 95 and a 96, just depending on the application and what we're trying to build.
What kind of suspension travel are we getting out of this?
Basically 17 and a half, it's about max you're gonna get out of four-wheel drive. You're not gonna get much more than that.
If you go two-wheel drive, will this get more?
Yeah, 19 and a quarter is about max I can get out of two-wheel drive.
Wow.
And that's on a 96 kit.
So let's talk about the different components here. What do we got here as far as the coilover? What size is that?
It's a 12-inch stroke, so it's a dual rate, and then a 12-inch stroke on the bypass.
2.5 or 3?
It's a 2.5 and a 3.5 on this, and you can go up to a 4 on the bypass side.
Wow, 12-inch strokes. So this is more than one of the other kits we've seen, right? The last
Yeah.
kit, I think I saw you were doing 10-inch strokes.
We do 10s on the 94s and the 90, and we even have a 92 kit, but I don't really sell that much, not that often. It's very slim.
90 kit is like closer to stock with, right? It's a
Yeah,
little bit less,
yeah, it's like it
little bit
runs
more.
like a +2 fender, and that's about it.
And then we got a bump stop here on the side as well, right?
2.5-inch bump stop. It's a 2.5 by 2.5. It's more of a positive stop. I mean, we can tune with it, but generally the tuning's done on the shocks themselves. I tune a little bit with the bump, but not as much.
So let's talk about the arms then. So the arms and your ball joints and all of that design, right? It is a little bit different than most other shops do.
It is different. I mean, it's unique. I mean, this was one of the first kits that we actually came out. We actually did these kits for Outlaw Off-Road back in the day, and then he ended up taking and doing his own thing. You know, we kind of continued on, and this has been a development. This is about the generation 3 right now for this kit. I guess I'm never satisfied, so to speak.
Improving.
I'm always want to improve it. Yeah, if I see something I don't like, or if I see something I can change to make it better, then because of where we are, size of the shop, I can change on the fly.
I've seen your designs, even from when I first saw your kits a couple years ago, evolve to what they are today, right? And you're always, like, you have a version of this kit that'll fit 3.0 coilover, right?
Yeah, 3.0, 4.0, and that's basically what the Elite runs.
This one's also running the new wheel with disc brakes, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys have to do anything to fit that into your spindle?
No, it actually bolts right onto our kit.
Dude, that's cool, because almost every other kit requires some kind of spacer kit to get it to fit.
We didn't have to do anything.
I noticed there's quite a bit different here that's not standard on our kit, and I really want to highlight all the reinforcement that you do, right? Because you do the typical frame plating in the back that everybody else does, but you also do frame plating at the front that you only see on pre-runners. You do this on all your kits. You also do frame plating in the middle, which I think it's unique. Nobody else does that. Plus, the slot deletes part of your kit, and you do additional bracing on every single lower control arm mount.
All the way through.
I do not see anybody else.
Yeah, we do inners and outers on it, basically. So it can take a raw kit at that point. Plus, you know, when we do our custom bumpers, we incorporate it back into it, so it's not going to try to rip that off the frame if you do impact
that's right.
a raw.
It's all welded in. Because honestly, welded in is the way to go, because a bolt bumper will always sag. It will eventually sag.
Learned that by racing. You know, I mean, when you're out on the course and it's so much rougher than anything you ever see on the trails.
Dude, the level of reinforcement you do from the plates there in the back, and you do your plating in the middle, so you almost sandwich it on both sides for the lower control and pivots. Plus, I noticed you do also kind of triangle it off here at the front with the way you mount everything. I mean, that's next level reinforcement.
It is. You know, my customer base is on the extreme side. My customer base are the guys that want to use their truck, want to get the full experience out of their truck, not just have it to go on a smooth motocross track or go to the Starbucks. I'm not that guy.
And I think that's one of the things that sets you apart, because there's a lot of kids out there that'll do great on tracks, they'll do great on all that stuff. But in the real world, you know, California, Baja, and all that stuff, they have their issues, right? In my kit, I'm always keeping an eye on it too because of that. Your kit is designed for the extreme out here in California, Nevada.
I build it the way I drive it. Put it that way.
I've seen you drive, man. I've seen you drive. Holy shit, man. I had no fucking idea.
That's what built truck.
The control arms, let's talk about that.
It's all plate, it's all 4130. This is our newest and latest design, so it has a slight arc to it that I mimicked basically off of the trophy truck that we did. So it lowered the shocks, which helps us on the turbos, because of these turbo trucks compared to the older V8 trucks. We didn't have a problem of putting shocks in there because there was really nothing in the way. Now you get into turbo tubes and all that, but we needed everything to come down. So that was another way for us to get shocks lower into the actual arm without making the arm super bent, so it's just a real slight radius, but it lowered it like 2 inches on the truck.
Wow. You know, I forgot to mention that. What makes this a long travel kit, there's no stock shock bucket there.
No, we don't use a shock bucket at all. We make our own shock tower, basically, is what it is.
And you're doing 12-inch stroke shocks, and you're doing a brace over the top of the engine, too,
Yes,
right?
yeah, it has a crossover brace. You need to tie it together.
Now, I know this truck has the full clamshell fender setup, where you replace the whole hood. Do you have to go this route with this kit, or can you still
When
do
we
like
go to the
plus runner?
95, it's advised. I mean, if everybody knew how easy it is to work on their truck when you have these, I mean, you've witnessed it, you know. I mean, you tilt it forward, everything's wide open.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's basically a bolt-in deal.
I love it.
So, yeah, I mean, I have it on my own personal truck, and I love it too. I mean, go to the car wash and washing and cleaning, I mean, it's just so much easier. But when you get into the 95, 96 range, you do need the one piece. The 94s, you can run fenders. Anything other than that, you're gonna be going this way. And we do have Gen 3s coming for these.
What wheel tire size combo do you recommend for this, right? Can you run 37s?
You can run
Do you recommend
37s. Yeah, you can run up to 40. If we do 40, we got to do some sheet metal work on the cab. We just have to modify a little bit. It's not dramatic, but it is something that has to be done. Because we do tuck pretty tight, you know, as far as bottoming. So when it goes to full compression, we want to make sure that we have enough room so the tires can turn and not hit.
So let's go ahead and talk about price of this kit, because I think that's where really we're going to surprise a lot of people because of what this is, right? So what's the price of the front kit with shocks?
19,865.
And then how much is it installed?
7,300.
So all told, you're what? Close to
A little under 27.
a little under 27,000. We did some research on how much other kits cost, right? And Mark, I mean, you're the one that did it the most recently, right?
Yeah.
So if we were to do, say, for example, my truck, an SVC kit, how much does that cost?
That kit is 17.3 with King shocks.
So it's about 2,500 less than yours,
Yeah.
right? And then installations, probably what?
About $5,000.
So you're at about 5,000 extra for long travel. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense why anybody would go to mid travel when for $5,000 more, you can get long travel. And I mean, it's a completely different kit. And mind you, there's a couple things that you get with this kit that you're just not gonna get with other kits. You get all the extra frame plating, and you're doing that both on the inside and on the outside.
Yep.
You're doing gusseting.
Yep.
All that alone on any other kit is gonna add at least $2,000 to the price of that kit.
Yeah, that'd be fair.
And then you also chop off the shock bucket,
Yeah.
which any other shop, they're gonna charge you a full day's worth of labor just for that piece.
Right.
And it's part of this kit. And then you do more than that though, right? As far as the installation.
So we do a whole new shock tower. So we get rid of the stock coil bucket altogether, and we actually do a full chromoly shock tower. And then we connect it from side to side that goes over the engine to basically distribute the load from left side to right side. So that way it doesn't bend your frame. So we have reinforcements on the lower pockets. We have reinforcements on the side of the frame. The lower rear pocket, which has tendency to be ripped off. So we have reinforcements on that also.
One of the biggest differences for me is the shock. The shock itself. Typical mid-travel kit is using 8-inch stroke,
Yeah.
right? You're using 12-inch stroke.
Yeah.
And it makes a world of difference when you
Handling-wise.
top.
Handling is huge.
Yeah,
Big
when you
difference.
chop that shock bucket off, you're not restricted by the stock shock bucket that we all know is weak.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody doing spring upgrades is breaking it. And it's the same cost.
Speaking of weak, and that was something I wanted to bring up to everybody. You're bolting all this stuff up to an 090 frame. I mean, think about that. It's 90 thousandths thick. That's all this is. That's what you're relying on. To me, it's like you have to reinforce this. The design philosophy that I'm putting into it, you need to reinforce it to protect your investment too. If you're going to put all that money into something, why go halfway?
Yeah. Notice your kit. Your shocks are a little bit farther outboard, right, than the traditional kit.
We pushed them out as far as we can to be able to control the sway on the actual truck when you're going into a corner. But we don't run any sway bars on the vehicles, and they don't sway hard at all.
No, and I've driven Mark's truck. Mark actually was kind enough to let me drive his truck, and he actually drove my truck too, back to back. And what a difference, man! I mean, my truck swayed like crazy, and that kind of reduces your confidence going into turns. Not a hint to sway on yours. It was
It's
impressive.
like a sports car.
Yeah.
It's way better than a stock Raptor. If any of these other manufacturers would drive this truck, they would say, why is anyone buying our kit?
They would be embarrassed.
They would be.
Would be embarrassed.
They would be totally embarrassed.
I've driven a lot of them too, and I mean, not to my own horn, but they do handle the best.
So let's also talk about what else is in there. You include that bump stop, right? Yeah. It's more of a positive stop, but it's all included. Yeah. So this kit is about $5,000 more than your typical kit, but you're getting more than $5,000 worth of work, value, and reinforcement in it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've been telling you guys for the longest time that this is the best value on the market right now. And in my opinion, it is the best kit on the market right now for F-150s and Raptors. You're gonna get more functionality here. Shocks are gonna be the same if you go coilover with bypass, that's gonna be the same. The extra cost is in the installation because of what you're getting here. They're chopping off the shock bucket. They're completely reinforcing the whole front of the frame. They're reinforcing all your lower control arm pockets that need it. Anybody that's done real off-roading knows you need to reinforce all that. And that's all standard with the kit. The only option is what? If you want these fenders?
Yeah, basically.
That's it.
You know, the size of shock. I mean, you can go up to a 4.0, which price-wise, it goes up about $500-600 a shock. So it's not that dramatic, but.
Let's hop over and look at the back end. Let's see what makes this unique. Back end of this truck is a little bit different than your typical kit out there. First of all, it's sprung under, right? So why did you guys decide to go sprung under on this thing?
It helps on the compliance of the truck as the bumps, and it also gives you a better roll center.
Well, what springs are you using? Is it
Just
Devers?
the custom Devers, yeah, just off-the-shelf Devers. They're nothing, this is basically everybody can buy the same Dever.
Is it like a plus, what, plus 6, plus 7?
This is, you know, that's a good question. At least a plus 6, especially with the shackle that we're running, because we have a pretty long shackle on these.
Is that like a what, plus 1, plus 2 drop shackle?
Basically, altogether, it's a plus 2.5 with the hanger too.
One thing that I do want to point out that's very unique about your setup is the welded bump stop.
Yeah.
Right, it's fully welded and trussed all the way through. Nobody else
Welded
does
across
that.
too.
Yeah.
So, and then we dive also back into the frame again. So it's multiple spots that we tie into.
I also noticed we have a custom axle on here, right? You got, what axle is this?
It's a Curry.
It's a Curry?
Yeah, it's a Curry standard
What
axle.
gearing are you doing on here?
This truck itself is running a 488 front and rear.
Really? 48s is enough for 40s?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that feel, Mark?
I love it.
You love it?
Yep.
And then what's the bypass that we're using here?
4.0 18-inch.
So you're using a full, not 16, you're using a full 18.
Full 18. And I do that for my customers just because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. We're running 18 inches of travel, but it also allows you then, if you do want to upgrade the truck on down the road, you have the bypass for the 4-link. That's kind of my philosophy on it.
So 1-to-1 ratio, so you get the full stroke. So you can tune for the full stroke all the way down.
All the way down.
As opposed to 16 where, you know, you're kind of making some of it up. And then I noticed here too, you're using a fuel cell. So what's up with that? I've never seen a fuel cell on a Leaf truck. Man.
There's a couple different companies doing it right now. This is a Harman, so this is something that we had them design and we've just been running it. This was the first one to actually get it. And it's worked out really, really well.
What size is that?
This is a usable, 45 gallons total. It's about max you can get on this system. There's not a whole lot of room back there.
I also noticed you guys did quite a bit of reinforcement back here, right? Almost nobody does reinforcement on the Gen 2 anymore. And you guys did reinforcement here and reinforcement back there too.
Yeah, anywhere we're gonna contact, we always do reinforcement plates, you know, just because the frame, once again, is 090.
Wait, did you guys redo the drop shackle mount?
Yeah, it has a whole new mount.
Really?
Yeah, we did a whole new mount back there.
That is cool. One of the biggest complaints you hear with this type of setup is, aren't you gonna shear off your U-bolts onto the bottom?
Well, with the tire, I guess with the tire size, we're running 35s and it might be an issue, but we're running 40s, we don't have that issue.
You guys don't do any plates or anything like that on there to kind of protect it?
No, I don't do anything on there. I run a 3/8 thick plate. But other than that, I've never really had an issue. Racing on it, it would be a different story. I'd definitely do it differently, but for a pre-runner like this, you're never gonna hit it, not on 40.
I'm also noticing you guys are doing limit straps here, right?
Yes.
So what is this currently limited at?
17 3/4 right now.
And that's true travel, right?
Yeah, it's true travel.
Which, that's key.
Yeah.
Now, why did you guys decide to do the dump out exhaust in front of the axle like that? Is that mainly just for space?
More for space, yeah. For me, it's kind of silly to run it up and over and back. In my opinion, it's just you run out of space. There's barely any room in their factory.
And I think you guys do, the fill-up is in the back.
Yeah,
right?
Fill's in the back.
But you also do a full cage front to back, so the whole bed is supported.
Yeah, it's got a bed cage all the way through.
Now, that's something that's cool, because the only other shop that I know that does that is Blitz. And it's something that I feel that is necessary.
Yeah.
Necessary because of the way the back end moves on these trucks. You're just gonna destroy your fenders if you don't do any kind of reinforcement.
Yeah.
And you do it full all the way back, right?
Yeah, and the thing that we're gonna start doing too, which we did on this truck, because we did have an issue with it, is because the frames are so thin, we're running into the problem of you start really using this truck heavy, it's ripping the bolts literally out through factory frame. So we're going through and actually building our own little mounts to go into the frame.
Some more mounts to the frame, right?
Yeah,
Not just the bed bolts.
I don't know if I'm going to keep using the stock factory stuff just because it's not that strong. It's not like the Gen 1 stuff. The Gen 1 stuff is a lot more robust, but this stuff, since it's gone more into a production F150, it's definitely gotten a little thinner.
What fenders are you guys using back here?
All McNeil. Yeah,
McNeil,
we run
and this
McNeil
one,
Racing on all our
Plus
stuff.
fours?
This is a plus 4.5, I do believe it is. So
It's a big boy.
yeah, it's a big boy.
And then you're doing dual tire setup in the back. And you guys could do any configuration anybody wants in the back,
yeah,
right?
I have it to where we can set up behind the cab if they want that. I like the weight in the back because it helps on the leaf springs. The leaf springs basically need the weight behind them to make them to move, get them to move.
Yeah, and that's something you guys should be doing in your builds too. I know everybody has them behind the cab because they like the look of it. But if you want the truck to perform right,
work.
You need the weight farther back.
That doesn't work.
What brakes are you using back here?
Willwood, this is basically something we set up. We're running an Alcon rotor on this kit because that's what he had on it originally. And then I basically developed an adapter to run the 6-piston Willwood Superlights in the back. So that's something that we are going to offer. And then we're going to make our own hat and rotor system just to get rid of the Alcon stuff altogether. It's just a little pricey for what they're getting.
Well, and I think we're getting better performance out of the Willwoods too, right?
Absolutely.
Good things.
Yeah, the pedal and the stopping power is far superior, in my opinion. And I've raced before, and I can tell you right now, the brakes are a lot better. Oh, drive shaft, yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's talk drive
We
shaft.
run an Evan Weller on the third member too. I mean, top of the line. And this does have a 10-inch ring gear. We're not running 9-inch stuff. Here's one thing, we don't run the factory yoke, and that's a big no-no. The factory Ford yoke, that Raptor yoke, is a joke. We run
Really?
We run a 1350. Yeah, it loads the pinion in the wrong spot. That's one thing that Evan always says when I send my stuff in. He's all, man, compared to all the other companies, you run a 1350, everybody else is running stock yokes, and all the yokes beat up the gears.
We already talked about how, you know, the rear axle, that could be $11,000, right? You're doing Curry with an Evan Weller. What's the standard price for, say, your bed cage setup?
Starting at $2,400, it goes up from there. You know?
And that's just the cage with nothing on it, right?
That's just the cage, nothing on it, yeah.
Right. And you guys can customize however you want.
We customize anything into it. Yeah, we've been doing chase racks, a whole bunch of different things for a lot of different teams and a lot of different organizations.
Now, can you do the Marty McFly look?
We can do the Marty McFly look if that's what you're into, man. If that's what you're into, we can definitely do it.
That's a lot of extra chromoly.
Yes, yes.
Your typical rack is about $1,500, $2,000, depending on the company, right?
Yeah.
I think the RPG rack, if you get it with the tire racks and everything, can go up to $2,000. So it's about the same price. And yours goes all the way to the back too,
We're
right?
going all the way to the back. Yeah, I mean, we have a smaller one available if they want the dual tires.
The key here is that it's customizable. I think too many shops limit what you could do. They only do a one setup and that's it. It kind of sucks. And my favorite companies, and you're at the top, don't, right? You guys customize it for the customer based on their use and how they use it. If you're a guy riding Baja every weekend, you're gonna have different needs than the weekend warrior guy that only goes out some of the time.
True.
They can make it as utilitarian as you want or as flashy as you want, right? Sky's the limit. It's up to you on what you want back there.
Exactly.
Rack in the back, there's two 40s. The first 40 is bolted down and the second one's strapped on top, and I can still use my rear view mirror. When I had them in an RPG kit in the back with 37s, the whole back was blocked. This way, I've got two 40s instead of two 37s. The weight's in the back, and I can use my rear view mirror. Much better.
The leaf pack setup, that's the price is standard regardless, right?
Yeah,
I think dealers, they used to be $1,200, now they're like $1,500, $1,600.
Yeah, they're close to 16 altogether now with the bushings and U-bolts and all that.
So that price doesn't change. That's the same regardless, right? It's just a matter of picking the height that you want. That's the only difference, right? So if somebody wants to do your drop hanger and drop shackle setup, how much does that usually go?
So that's only for the undersprung. So for the undersprung system, you're going to be looking at about $3,800 for all of that.
So that includes the leaf packs and all the fabrication work on the frame and on the axle, right?
Yeah.
Not too bad at all considering what you're getting. Mm-hmm. Leaf sprung's not for everybody though, right? That's more for the guys running light.
You can't tow with it. Yeah, there's no towing with undersprung. So you can, but it's not recommended.
So the more weight you carry, you recommend going on top, right?
Absolutely.
Traditional style.
Yeah, and the plus 5s that we just did on Neil's truck works amazing.
Yeah,
we did a longer shackle on that.
Ride height is perfect on his.
Perfect, and ride quality is really good, really good.
I think you also have the two-piece drive axle in the back, right? Now that does require some fabrication work to support that and straps. Yeah. How much would something like that cost?
You're looking about $800 for us to do a custom mount. The drive shaft itself is right around $1,500. As long as your yokes are usable. So as long as the yokes aren't damaged, on the front, we can use all that and we don't have to buy anything.
And that's more for the guys, if you're doing undersprung with the upgraded axle, you should be doing a two-piece.
Yeah, or if you're doing a plus 5, you need a two-piece. I wish Ford would have done a two-piece. It's not advisable to plunge in and out of the transfer case all the time. They were having problems with that originally on the Gen 1s with the seals blowing out. So You know, it's better to have a two-piece, and you can plunge on the backside of the carrier bearing, and it makes it a lot happier on your transmission.
Well, and we've seen the way this truck performs. It makes it a whole lot more nimble. I mean, this looked like a linked truck going on the trails.
It worked very well.
It really changed the dynamics of it. All right, and then I think the last item would be the fuel cell, right? How much is the fuel cell, and then the cost to integrate it?
$4,300 on the fuel cell now. Integration-wise on that, it's going to be custom on the actual cradle and all that, so right around $5,000. We could do the installation on that.
Yeah, because I know you talked about it was almost a full week of work.
It is
to do
almost
that.
a full week of work. It's not easy. Plus, that includes plumbing and things of that nature we have to do.
Any issues with emissions by doing the fuel cell?
Technically, it's not EPA approved for California and all that because they're not paying for the licensing. So, I mean, does it pass smog? Yes, it can.
Does they have like the canister and all that stuff?
Yeah, everything's still hooked up.
Oh,
I mean,
so it's
there's
all-
no check engine lights. There's nothing like that. Everything's still hooked up. The only thing is,
Is it a different pump or is it the same pump?
no, it's the same pump.
So it's the same pump. You're using the
Same- you're
same
getting the same
breather canister and everything?
Everything,
So all the
everything.
emission stuff is there.
Yeah, everything's there. It's
pretty
all
cool.
hooked back up, just like factory.
But that's optional, right? That's not a
That is
requirement.
optional. Yeah, you don't have to run that, but that is optional. It does help on the weight distribution of the truck, though.
All right, guys, I think next we want to show you guys what this truck can do on the trails. So we're going to go out to Barstow, show you guys some clips from that run. That looks so good, man.
Yeah. Slow.
That looks good, dude.
Sucked off my Oakley's when you went by. That ain't cool. It sounds like a rocket ship.
So now we're back with the owner of this truck. This is Mark. What's your Instagram, Mark?
Fire M.
I mean, dude, this truck looks great. The fact that it's a scab with 40s, I don't know, the proportions are just right for this thing. It looks so good going down the trails. You and I talked about this setup. Before you built it, what other kits were you considering before you looked at HM?
Camberg, Evil, SVC, Hanna Race Designs. I think they have a kit.
HRD.
And there might have been one or two more. And I really priced out, like the Camberg, I went and priced out all new shocks for it, bump stops, slapper arm,
everything.
a spindle that was from ADD, because at the time Camberg didn't make one. I priced it all out, and this kit was like 700 bucks more, and I went, are you freaking kidding me? Longer shocks, more travel, race proven. It was like, you'd be, sorry to say it, not the brightest to not get this kit.
You reached out to me with the typical question everybody does, right? Like the most common question I get is, what's the best kit on the market out there, right? Especially ever since I switched to the SVC, everybody's asking for opinions on the best kit. And I always told everybody, this is number one, right? This is number one, and here's why. I know when you were pricing it, what eventually sold you on the kit, right? Because I know you talked to all the shops. You actually called a lot of these guys and talked to them.
I talked to a shop that services pre-runners. I believe they do trophy trucks. They service all the shop's kits. SVC, the guy has driven every single kit out there. I asked him, if you had a Raptor and you were gonna build it, who would you trust to build it? And he went straight to Kevin. That's the only place he said, I would only go to Kevin. He says, I used to own an HM built pre-runner, and he said that was one of the best handling trucks he's ever driven.
It's hard to explain people how good these kits are, right? Because we can always talk about the specs, about the extra stroke, we can talk about the extra reinforcement and all that stuff. But where it really counts, where this kit really sets itself apart, is how it drives. And when we were testing them in Barstow, that's the first time you pushed this kit, right? Because you're still getting used to it, right?
Yeah.
This thing was doing elite pre-runner stuff. And I think that was so cool to see. Mind you, because you're elite running, you weren't going as fast, but you were doing elite pre-runner stuff, and you were looking almost identical to the elite pre-runner when you were going down the trails in this thing.
Yeah, to me it was, you basically have to have the cojones to hold the throttle down to do what it did. Looking down, doing 91 through whoops in this thing, I just, mind blown. Yeah. I didn't expect leaf springs to do what this thing did. It's crazy.
Yeah, and this thing is killer, man. I love the way it looks, being a scab. I'm not a fan of scabs because of the smaller gas tank.
You haven't heard the saying, scabs rule, screws drool?
The proportions of this, man,
yeah.
with the fenders, with the 40s.
Yeah.
It looks good, and the looks match.
It looks like a Tonka truck with the 40s. Yeah. It looks crazy, yeah.
It looks cool. Yeah, there's a lot less weight. You got the bigger fuel cell, so you don't have the limitations of a scab. Yep. So I'm a big fan of this truck. Mark's been out on a run with us already. Like, see, your first run off road.
First run in this truck was with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're relatively new to the sport. Right. And you were keeping up with us at the front. That's how good this truck is. And I'm sure that once you get more seat time with this, you're only gonna love it even more, man, because this thing is amazing.
Mind-blowing.
So what advice would you have to somebody out there that's looking to price all their kits? What advice would you give them when it comes to looking at the kits out there, and why you picked this one?
Number one, what material is it made out of? This one's made out of, everything's 4130. Look at the kits out there. A lot of the stuff, some of the parts are not 4130. Right there is a no-go.
A lot of kits out there are made of mild steel, man.
Mild steel? Yeah. You putting a mild steel on a Raptor? No.
You know, that's good when you're building racks and stuff like that to hold your jack.
If you're a Starbucks, queen or king, yes, go buy those kits. This is not a Starbucks kit. Granted, the chicks at Starbucks love it though.
But yeah, this is a cool kit, guys. But this isn't the only thing we wanted to show you guys on this video today. As you guys heard us talk before, HM is doing Elite. You guys know the Elite. This is the Urban Assault. There is a new truck that they're building called the Recon, and we're gonna show you guys that next. I think it's pretty cool. Now this right here is something new from HM, and you're calling this the Recon kit, right?
This is the Recon, yes.
So this falls right in the middle between your Elites and your long travel kits.
Basically our version of a Gen 3 Raptor.
So this is gonna be a link truck, right? Without a cage.
Without a cage.
So the Recons are linked without a cage, but this one is special though, right? Because this is also a Coyote swap, right?
This is a V8 swapped, yeah. So we're doing a V8 swapped with the Whipples, so we have all that available also. So 875 horsepower package.
Wow.
With a built transmission.
What kit is it getting up front? Is this the Elite kit?
This kit's the 95.
The 95 race kit. And then you also did a swing set steering kit.
We did swing set steering on the 4-wheel drive.
This thing is just badass. And it's a billet kit too, right?
It's all billet. Yep, with the new cross members. Basically the same thing we had on the Elites, it's just reversed.
This thing is bitching, but what really sets it apart is the back end. Looking at the rear frame of this thing is impressive because you not only did you notch it, right? You did a notch to give you that's 6 inches or so extra?
It's actually 5.
But you also fully boxed the whole frame front to back, even well past into the cab.
Yeah.
That's wild, dude. That's like pre-runner territory almost.
That's what we're building. We're building a truck you can actually use.
Without the cage, though.
Without the cage.
So you won't get all the drawbacks of a pre-run, all the noise and all that stuff. You just got to be careful not to roll
There's
it.
a lot of customers out there like that want that. May not push it as hard as the other guys, but they want the creature comforts, they want the V8. A lot of these guys don't want the cost of the Raptor Rs, they're too much money. So basically for the cost of a Raptor R, they're putting it into their truck they have now and walking away with something that's custom and that can actually handle it.
What sets this apart though, right, is when you usually do a pre-run, you just cut off the frame at the back and you build your own setup back there. This one, you're preserving part of the frame.
We're keeping it, yeah.
Right, but you're changing the pivots, right? You're doing your typical, you think you do with pivots, and then you're also doing this badass arm.
Billet arms.
This arm is beautiful. If you ever get one of these messed up, let me know. I'd love to put this on my wall.
I don't think you can on this.
Right? This thing is like a piece of art, and it is
really
so cool.
It really is.
And it's basically the same geometry as your Elite.
It's identical geometry, yeah. Identical geometry to the Elite. The only thing that's different is the pivot points are moved back on this arm to be able to facilitate getting it out of the cab. So because the Elites are a little bit in the cab, it's not much, but it's a couple inches. So now this shock will be outside of the cab, so we can actually build a structure that won't interfere with anything back in this area.
Now, what I think is key about this kit too, guys, is there's a lot of kits for the Gen 3 right now, but I'm concerned that none of them move the pivots or replace the drive shafts. Right? This kit doesn't even bother using anything Gen 3 related. You guys go full straight out so you can get more travel, more reliable travel that's not going to give you issues. And once you're done, are you going to be doing like the 2-piece drive shafts and everything?
It will still use a 2-piece drive shaft just like the Elite. Basically all the drivetrain stuff out of the Elite is going back into this.
So the main thing is this won't have a cab, so it'll be a little bit quieter on the road. So it'll be more drivable in some ways. This thing's cool, man. So once this is done, I'm going to be bugging Kevin to see this on the trail so you guys can really experience what this thing can do.
We'll have it coming soon.
I'm really stoked about this truck, man. I was blown away by that performance. I know you build cool stuff, but seeing this next to the pre-runner blew me away. This thing is amazing, man. And I honestly want this kit on my truck. That's how impressed I was this past week. The level of reinforcement you're doing, I've had such a hard time. Other shops recognize the need for it. It's based on this kit after seeing what it could do. Dude, this truck is amazing. It's amazing. So I'm really stoked up.
Thank you, appreciate that.
If you guys want to get more info on this kit, you're going to be getting a website set up here pretty soon,
Yeah,
right?
website's coming. We should have that probably done before this video even drops. So within the next couple of weeks or so.
So as soon as the website up, guys, we're going to put it down below so that you guys can get the info. But if you guys want to get more info on this kit, if you guys want to get a quote, you guys can call Kevin now and get a quote on these systems.
Or you can email me, hmsuspensionllc@gmail.com.
I'm telling you guys, if you're looking for the best, this is it. If you don't want a cage truck, you want to go mid-travel performance or better, this is it. Because it'll cost you the same as your typical mid-travel kit, and you're going to get so much more performance. And all that extra reinforcement and all that stuff means you're going to have less breakdowns on the trail, less for you to worry about. Nothing else like this on the market right now.
No.
Period. Quick reminder on the pricing. The front end is
$19,865.
with installation, it's another
$7,300.
so about 27 grand. It's about 5 grand more than your typical mid-travel kit, and you're getting a whole lot more performance. The rear is a little bit more comparable to most of your other builds, but you can do more. The rack starts at
$2,400.
For those that want to do undersprung with the Leaf kit, you're looking at about
Altogether, about 10 grand with labor.
And then if you want to do an upgraded axle, this is the same regardless of the shop you go to, around 11,000.
Yep.
2-piece drive axle, you're looking at about what, 2,000 there?
Yeah, a little under 2,000.
And then the fuel cell, obviously for those that want to do fuel cell, that could be almost a $10,000 job easy.
Yeah, depending on the size.
You do have to take into account lead times. I think shocks are still taking a little bit longer than normal,
They're
right?
getting better, but yeah, we're still a couple months out, maybe 3-4 months right now instead
that's not too
of
bad.
6. Yeah,
Yeah, 6
and
to
we
8
do
months
have
like
some
before.
shocks that are available. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah, King is stocking some inventory for us now.
That's cool because these kits before you used to have to wait 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Now, it'd be nice to see those coming in. So make sure you guys get a hold of Kevin and start getting on his schedule because he's gonna fill up quick. Last time we did a video, you couldn't get into a shop for a year.
Yeah,
So-
we had a year waiting list.
So get in quick, guys, because these kits are amazing. Even his rear end, like I said, we normally don't do videos on the rear end, but the sprung under, the welded bump stop, the option for a fuel cell. There's so much cool stuff there, and it's a full-on bed rack system to it, protects your whole setup. And you guys have options when it comes to fenders and all that stuff. You can even run 40s, no problem with these, even on an EcoBoost.
That's right. Go 40s or go home.
Mark and I had a little argument because early on when he was thinking about this truck, I told him don't go 40s on an EcoBoost because most of the guys that I've heard run them.
Actually, I was saying I wanted to do 39s. You said don't go 39s. So instead, I went 40s.
And it was based on my experiences with 37s. Now, this truck, you have it goose tuned.
Yes.
And you have 488 gearing, right?
488. Yeah.
488.
And that's making the difference. You guys saw the clips, man. It's pulling. Dolan is doing some killer
She gets
shit.
it. She gets it. She's fast.
The only drawback is she's quiet.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I want her quieter. It's not a V8. They don't sound good.
So when are you going to Tesla swap it?
Never.
I just want to remind everybody, this is true long travel. Because long travel has nothing to do with the inches of travel. It has to do how you're doing that travel.
Right.
You're chopping off the stock shock bucket. You're using longer shocks. Your tunability is wider throughout the whole stroke.
Yeah.
And it performs better.
It's a race engineered front end. I mean, we've raced on this kit. We placed 9th overall for the year in trophy truck racing in this kit. It's been around. I mean, we've won championships on our older kits.
One of your old trucks just won their class too, right?
Yeah, one of our 6100 chassis just won Class 7 in Baja. It's definitely not your just bolt-in mid-travel kit. I mean, it's far above that.
And that's really where you shine, right? This is for the serious off-roader.
Yeah, it's for the gentleman who wants to use the truck and not be scared about using it.
Like I've talked about this many times before, right? I've worked with a couple of shops. I've tried to convince them about the reinforcement that I needed. Some of them believed in it, most of it didn't. But when I came to your shop, everything I wanted was standard. It was part of the kit. Right, all the reinforcement, everything was there, and it just shows you, right? The serious off-roaders, the guys that are out there suffering damage, know the common pain points. Your kit addresses that and more.
We learned that racing.
So for that reason, guys, this is my #1 kit.
Well, and honestly, that's the reason why I'm here. With the history that this kit has, there is no other kit out there that can compete with this kit. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth.
The only thing better is race chassis, center mount.
Yeah, center mount.
That's the next level.
Because your kits, the way it is now, they can go straight into pre-runners.
Oh, absolutely.
And do some crazy wild stuff with those.
Yeah.
So this tech right here is very close to the pre-runner. It's almost identical, right?
It is. It's identical. Yeah, there's nothing. The architecture is all the same.
Pre-runner tech, guys, capabilities, one of the strongest kits on the market for about the price of a mid-travel kit. So this is why I've always recommended. So if you guys ever ask me again, what's the best kit on the market? This is it right here. Always will be #1. All right, guys. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the access.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mark, for letting us beat up
No
your
problem.
truck.
No
Because I
problem.
know,
Yeah,
I know.
If you know, you know.
that's right.
All right, guys. Questions or comments below. Thanks, guys, for watching.